Hello, I'm Chuck, and welcome to the Delaware Valley Original Music Showcase. Tonight, we continue our mission of helping support original music in the Delaware Valley with our three-step process. Listen, experience, and pass on original music. But we need your help to get the word out. So let's get started. Tonight's artist calls Claymont, Delaware home, but his adventures have taken him all across the Delaware Valley. Here is Rolin Alli on the Delaware Valley Original Music Showcase.
Will I ever find peace of mind? Will I ever find what some say is a lie? One will search a lifetime. Will I take a lifetime? Will greater love ever come? Will greater love ever rise? It seems to find this thing. One will search a lifetime. Will I take a lifetime to feel anything that is long lasting in a heart of life? Ever beating, we'll be seeing all the signs of our future. We will be recognized by the ones who realize that we don't have to fight, 'cause greater love is all inside. We don't have to fight, 'cause greater love is all inside. We don't have to look far, 'cause greater love is all inside. We don't have to fight, 'cause greater love is all inside.
So now you got a taste of his music. We'll find out more about him in an interview when we come back.
Well, I was born in North Jersey, East Orange, and North, and that whole area is rich in music. Rich in music, music loving, and musicians. We can start from Whitney Houston, her family coming from there. Wayne Shorter, the jazz composer and saxophonist. George Clinton and his old army. You know, they began there in New Jersey. Not to mention, not that I was there long enough to be influenced by them, but the whole area around my age group, a little older, the whole flavor unit, Queen Latifah, Chill Rob G, Naughty by Nature, you know, that type of bed spawned it. Plus, you know, the heavy record collection my father had, what I heard on the radio, Earth, Wind and Fire primarily. You know, Shaka Khan, Rufus, you know, Sting, Police, you know, and MTV came about. So, you know, that started the love for music. But as far as my background, I started playing alto saxophone in fourth grade when I was about 9. I've always been a singer, vocalist, and because of that, I went to the North Boys Chorus School in North New Jersey between 86 and 88, and that's 6th grade through 8th grade. After that, I moved to Eastern Pennsylvania, where they immediately put me in a play and the high school band for saxophone. And I did percussion lab and orchestra through high school years. Everything after that, music-wise, is pretty much self-taught. And that's where I started getting into the industry itself, making records. And, you know, a lot of stuff happened in between that, so a lot of filling in after that point.
I'm so glad you spent the night. Lady, you're a lovely sight. Yes, you are. Truth be told, in my eyes, you're the best by far. A classic episode we had.
It's hard to say. I love them both. You know, I can, particularly on drums, I sing and play at the same time. You know, and I think that may have come through watching cats like Earth, Wind and Fire or Prince's band, you know, with Sheila E. You know, when you see Maurice White and Philip Bailey singing and playing, I always thought that was admirable. Be able to have the coordination, be able to play and sing at the same time, and be proficient in it. So, you know, I like being out front sometimes, but there have been cases where I had I was with a drummer that didn't go where I needed to go, so sometimes I wish I was back there. And then I just like seeing people move. So a lot of times I like being on the drums. If I was a DJ, I'd do that too. I like seeing people move and dance. So it's really hard to say. I like both.
Reruns if you ask, but I mesmerized by how good you look laying in the sunshine. Don't you know this is like photosynthesis? Like seafloor sunshine, no beauty. Beauty comes from you. Beauty comes from you. Yeah, don't you know this is like photosynthesis? Like seafloor sunshine, no beauty. It comes from you.
I call it soul because, you know, whatever idiom I use, whether it's rhythm and blues or jazz or hip hop, you know, you have to have that soul into it to connect to people. You know, I like so many different genres of music. It really matters what you do with it and what you put into it. So I just categorize it as soul. I know a record store or whether it's online or physical record store, probably categorize it in the R&B section because I'm singing most of the time. But I categorize it as soul. You got to make the person feel what you're doing, and that comes from being sincere.
Sun rays on you bring to life. Elements that brings me life.
It all comes from inspiration. I mean, most of the time I'll use my drum kit as a desk. You know, I'll make a beat or something if I'm behind it. You know, I'll make a beat and then a lot of things flow from there. I tend to hear everything. And then there are times when I'm walking, because I'm mobile a lot. There's times when I'm walking and I'll hear a melody come in my head or a drum beat and I'll build it off from there. And I learned to keep a tape recorder because there are times where it'll just come and then just fade off. So if I don't get it right then and there, it's a problem. If I'm by a piano, then I'll do that. Sometimes somebody's saying something to spark a song, and then everything comes from there. I mean, really, I hear everything in my head, all the parts and everything from that point. So one thing can spark a whole composition. The challenge is getting to record it, which is very challenging nowadays because of me having 4 children, and, being a father, a husband, and other things coming about. That's the main challenge. Surprisingly enough, making the music is the easy part.
Anything missing my vision by the shades of beautiful love. It's amazing how we feel off each other when we breathe.
Well, I guess, do you ever see yourself giving it up? I mean, you got your kids, you got your wife, you got, life outside of music. Do you ever see yourself walking away?
Giving it up? No. I'd die if I gave it up. Literally, because that's just so much a part of me. Even if I said I'm going to not record or do anything anymore, it's going to come up in some way. I may be a teacher. I may just start beating on the table or something. That would really be like extracting a bigger part of me. So that's not going to happen. And besides, a lot of people run into the whole thing of, and I've seen many artists over time go, I got to give it up, because I got to get a real job. I got to feed my kids. How many people feed their kids with music or their art? You see it all the time. You've gone to concerts and paid $60 a ticket. Other people pay $200 for their seat, for that person, and they're feeding their children with music. So it's just the way to go about it. That's all.
From you, from you, yeah.
Oh man, again, it all goes hand in hand, so it's hard for me to really say what I like best. I love the writing process. I guess I'd probably say recording and getting it all together, making it come to fruition, making everybody see what it is you want to do. And to be honest, if I could be an engineer, I wish I'd gone to school for engineering, recording engineering, because that's so, I love that. They don't call it an art form, but it is to me. I love that. I mean, people don't understand how serious being a recording engineer or even a sound engineer is. I mean, you can have the greatest musicians on stage and if they can work together, great. But if the sound isn't coming out, you don't hear anything and you wouldn't know it. And the sad thing is most people who come to hear music, they don't really get into the specifics about who's doing what or who's responsible. If the sound is bad, they just know the band sounds bad. But the sound engineer is the one that can make everything sound crisp. I'd seen a band Mint Condition one time at the Keswick Theater in Glenside, Pennsylvania, north of Philadelphia. And Mint Condition came out, and we know, those who know them know they're one of the greatest bands ever assembled. But they wouldn't know it that night because the sound man they probably didn't have a sound check or what. The sound man just screwed everything up. You would think they were an opening act. It was horrible. The lead singer plays drums too, but he got on the drums and they were nowhere near mic'd up as opposed to the other drummer. Like, I saw what he was trying to do, and the sound kept squeaking on him. I saw keyboard solos louder than the rest of the record, man. They were professional about it, I'll tell you that, while they were on stage. And they were lucky that the crowd was Mint Condition fans because they knew how the music was supposed to sound. But having that responsibility and making albums and recordings sound great, I always thought that's amazing. But I didn't love performing so much. I'd be a sound engineer. That's like, I guess, how some people would get off making a 300-piece puzzle or a 3D puzzle or something like that. Oh yeah, I was writing some stuff earlier today. The problem is where it's gonna fall in. Because I think of albums, whether they're EPs or LPs or whatever the case, I think of them as compositions, like stories. I'm a conceptual writer. Every now and then I'll come up with something on the spot, or it'll be silly and this, that, and the other. But I always think this can work in this composition here. This can fit in this story. Again, that comes from listening to certain artists that I grew up with, like Earth, Wind & Fire, for example. Their whole albums were concepts. Everything had to be from their shows and everything. We're talking about how great their shows were, and they were legendary, but it fit the concept of the album. Master Ace with MC is another one. If you listen to his albums, everything is a story. It's a movie. The interludes fit right into the songs. Redman is another one. Kendrick Lamar, the Pimp Butterfly, he's another one. KRS-One is another one. Everything is conceptual. Everything fits into a story as opposed to just singles on a song. I like everything to be cohesive. So, yeah, I've written quite a few songs in the past few days, but I just can't wait to record them. The backstory of the song is basically it's a love song. It's a concept that I've experienced and others have experienced. It's like you have a beautiful woman or something, had a good date, spent the night, you wake up, be your wife, or your longtime girlfriend, you wake up and you see her with the sun shining on her, and you just think life. You look at her as the earth, the sun shining on her, and you see beauty blossom from her. as I said in the record. And it also speaks on respiration too. You know, the old saying, "She takes my breath away, be your carbon dioxide." And when she speaks to you, you know, sweet words, you know, that's your oxygen. So it's all speaking of the cycle of respiration and photosynthesis. So I speak of a woman as the earth. You know. Life experiences, yes. Meaning they could be stories, and then a lot of times it's conversation. You know, some conversation I may have had with somebody, or a lot of times my thoughts. They're my thoughts. You know, something I may think of, and you know, a lot of times it's common. They're all common experiences. But as an artist, I'm not a fan of monotony, and I'm not a fan of copying. What we call in hip hop biting. So if it's going to be the same thing, look at it from a different angle. That's the way I see it. So, like I have a song called "Who Is That?" I don't know how many people have done that song or that topic, but it's basically talking about the song that you love so much you just can't figure out who it is. And if I can, I'll try to work out something with Shazam on that one. Partner with them, because I wrote the song back in '97. And it was basically the concept where I was in South Carolina, and they had some really good stations. There was one station that would play music all the time. And unless you knew what the song was already, for some reason the disc jockeys never told you who it was. And I'm like, who is this? And I hear the song all the time. It's great. So that's what that one is about.
Here, one more time, is Rolin Alli on the Delaware Valley Original Music Showcase.
We are listening to right now. Welcome to Drums and Smoke Signals. I'm your host, Rolin Alli.